Welcome to the third video in the mini-series about masking in Darktable. Today we'll see how to make operations on masks when you have several masks on the screen and you want to either join them together, you want to calculate the intersection, difference, exclusion, all the shenanigans. We'll see how that works. I'm Nicholas and let's go. Let's start then by having a look at the mask manager in Darktable. So the mask manager is something you have on the left hand side here, which gives you at the beginning just a couple of options to create shapes, which are the same ones you'd find if you're in a module, any module where you can have drawn shapes. So imagine with this photo of mushrooms, I'll have a new instance of exposure. And by the way, with a 3.8 coming along, you can type directly, when you make a new instance of a module, you can type directly a new name. So background, so that's very handy. So let's imagine we're in drawn masks, and here we have, so the same circle, ellipse, path, brush, gradient, we have the same ones here. So there's no real point for me anyway in having the shapes here, but well, if you're on the left hand side, I suppose it could be quicker. Let's try then. Let's make a couple of masks. Imagine I want to enhance the background of here, of this this picture. So imagine I want a gradient. So let's have a gradient, and let's have an ellipse just to show you what's happening. So I'll just change the size and the rotation of this ellipse. Sorry, wrong way. There. So I now have two shapes. You see in the mask manager now, we have ellipse number one, gradient number one, and we have a group that's appeared here. And this group contains, if I click on it, gradient number one and ellipse number one. The first thing to know on this mask manager is you can actually change the names of the masks, the drawn masks. If you double click, I can just put here mushrooms, and if I double click here, let's do horizontal gradient, horizontal gradient. There, and that will automatically be updated in the group. So this group contains the masks that are used in the exposure background module on the right here. So I can add another shape here if I want another gradient. Let's have another gradient, which would be like this, kind of a diagonal gradient. And that has, as I made it on the left here, you'll notice that it hasn't appeared in the group. Whereas if I'd made it on the right hand side inside the module, it would have appeared inside the group. So we'll do that diagonal gradient, and I can add it by right clicking, add existing shape. There's no real menu there. Here it is, diagonal gradient, and I have it in the group. So that is basically how the mask manager works. Every time you create a new instance of a module, so let's have tone equalizer, drawn masks, and here if I look in the drawn masks, I can actually add a mask that already exists. And that's the advantage of changing the names in the mask manager, is if I just want the diagonal gradient here and choose the horizontal gradient, then I'll have a new group that's appeared here, group tone equalizer, with the two gradients inside it. So let's I can actually remove shapes while I'm at it, just to show you how to do it. If I want to remove the mushrooms here, just right click, remove from group. And now I have two shapes in the group, which is reflected here. Sorry, in the exposure background, two shapes. And I can add it back on again by going in group exposure background and add mushrooms. And now you see I have three shapes. Well, I should have three shapes. Two shapes used. I actually have three. So I guess that hasn't been updated, but I do have the 3. Oh no, I put it in the background. Ah, that's why. Sorry. Add the mushrooms into the exposure background. No, sorry, that's it. That's it. Okay. Never mind. So I do have the 3 in the this exposure background, but it only says 2. I'll switch it on and off. 2 shapes used. Oh well, never mind. Anyway, so I do have the 3. Now, maybe you're wondering why I would like to have several shapes and how these shapes interact with each other. And well, that's what I'd like to go a little bit more into detail now. If I have a look at the overall shape that's been created, I have quite a mess really. You can see the horizontal gradient, which is here, the diagonal gradient and a circle. And what's happening is that they are all added onto each other, which is what in maths we'd call a union. And if you right click on any of these masks, you'll see that there are 4 modes: union, intersection, difference, and exclusion. And I think now is the right time to go into a notepad and try and explain what those 4 things are. So let's just explain what these modes are. So imagine, let's do a bit of maths. This is the standard Venn diagram, which represents sets in mathematics, but they can very well represent drawn shapes. So here I've done 2 ellipses, but I'll show you, it works the same with gradients. We have, so let's say we have path A and the drawn path B. Now, there are 2, in maths, there are only 2 really operations that exist on maths, on sets, I mean. Let's copy and duplicate that. There we are. So there are only 2. One is the union. So A union B, and that is something which would contain A, but everything that is in A, or everything that is in B. So really, it would be there. So we're in the union. So X is a point X, or an element X is in the union if X is in A or X is in B. Where they overlap, it's in both. So it is in either one or the other because it's in both. So you kind of get this masked shape there, which is exactly what we get if, let's go back to darktable. Let's choose another picture just so we don't ruin that first one. Okay, so some Russian dolls, that's fine. New instance of exposure. And let's make 2 ellipses. Let's go get those nice and small. Just rotate them, just so I have something that looks a little bit like what I have. So that'd be A. Let's try and show those. That's A. And this is B. And I have the union of both A and B, which is the standard mode that you'll find the masks in. And the standard mode here is, you see the union, it's this funny little shape here where kind of you get both things together. So that is A union B. Now, the second one is the intersection. Intersection is like this. So this is union. And this is intersection. A intersection B. An element is in the intersection if it is in both at the same time. So it is the part of A and B that overlap. So X is in A intersection B if X is in A and X is in B. So really, in logical ways, there's only the or and the and. Now we have 2 other modes that exist. And that are the difference and the exclusion. If you see here, if we turn onto this, we have union, intersection, difference, exclusion. So union is standard. Intersection, so I have the intersection, we just have the tiny little shape in the center there, which is representing the overlap of the two shapes. So that's the intersection. And we have two more, so difference and exclusion. Now difference is a very useful one, for me anyway. Exclusion, not so much. So what are these two new operations? Well, let's paste that in. And there is no, so here we'll do the difference. So difference, well, it's not symmetrical to the difference, whereas the two first are symmetrical. What I mean by that is that A union B and B union A is the same, and A intersection with B and B intersection with A are the same. Now, A excluding B is not the same as B excluding A. So what is A excluding B? It's everything that's in A, but that's not in B. So it would be this. So we're in A, but not in B. So an element is in A excluding B if X is in A and X is not in B. So not in B means, what we call in maths is we're in B with a bar. B bar is the outside. It's what we call when we invert a shape. Now we know what that is like. If we've done that before, let's remove these shapes here. I've just removed one. So if I have a shape A, now I can have the inverse of A just by inverting it, inverting the polarity of the shape here with this plus minus, toggle the polarity of the drawn mask. So we have A, and that is A bar. And you can do that with all the shapes individually. Let's put that one back. So if I want to have A excluding B, then I'll have ellipse number 1, and I will do the difference with ellipse number 2. Now I could get away, actually, it's very useful, it's quick to do, but I could get away, if you think of it, this is the same as X is in A and not in B. So really this difference is an intersection. So what it would be is I do an intersection, but I intersect with the inverted shape. So what I've done is I have intersected with the inverted shape of the second ellipse. Now what I could do to make this clearer is I'll call that one A, and ellipse number 3 I'll call it B, and this ellipse number 2 that I removed and from the group I will delete. There, so I have A intersection with what's not B. And if I put that back, there we are. Now, what is the, so imagine that A excluding B and B excluding A are not the same thing. There is an order here, because B excluding A would be in green. Imagine that it is this part here. Now, how do I get B excluding A in darktable? Right, it's the opposite of that. Well, the easiest, if I want to, because really there's a problem with order, I have to get B up there. The easiest would be to put B on union, to invert A and intersect with A. And you notice that doesn't work, so it's got to be intersection. Something gone slightly wrong with the graphics design of that. But that is exactly what I've done without changing the order here. If I want to do it easily, I'll just remove them from group. So right click, remove from group. And I can put them back in the group by choosing B first and A afterwards. And I have B on top and A after, and then I can do the difference. And there I have it. So when you're constructing masks, if you want to do a difference, then the order is important, and it's much easier because this mask manager works well. But if you're using the exclusion, get the order right in your head first. I can actually do it because I can move these up and down. If I move this one down, which is it's not intuitive, because down means up in the list. There's something strange about this. You see, if I want to move A down, you think it moved A down, it'll go below B. If I move A down, it hasn't moved. I have to move A up because the top of the list is the bottom. Yeah, I know. So I'll move A down, it'll go back up again. Right. Now the problem is, if I do exclusion here, difference here, sorry, not exclusion, I've been saying exclusion, it's difference, isn't it? It's difference, that's not working because they're both on difference. So if you want to do that, then you're in trouble, because I now have an operation on both of them. And if I want to do A, and you get drawing problems here, but if I want to do, I put them both on union, and now if I want to do A difference B, then I'm back in that order again. I want B on top. So you say, let's move B down to get at the top, and do difference on A, and it doesn't work, so you need to put on union. There we are, and I've got kind of drawing issues. Conclusion for that, if you want to do differences, get it right first time, or else throw everyone out of the group and put them back in again. Right, so that was for the difference. I'll remove from group. Difference. Now, the other one, the last one, is exclusion. Let's paste my little picture back on there and do exclusion. Oh, sorry. I want to draw in green. Exclusion. Now, this one exists. I really don't know why anyone would use it. So if you have ideas, I don't mind. What is it? You're in the difference if you're everywhere in A or B. Sorry, that's the wrong pen. If you're anywhere in the union, but not in the intersection. This is called the symmetrical difference. Now, there is a mathematical sign for that, which is a delta. Let's get back to blue. So this exclusion is called A delta B. So X is in A delta B if X is either in A minus B or X is in B minus A. So really it's a union because it's an OR. So it means that this means that either I am in A intersection B bar, which is the part on the left, or, so union, B intersection A bar. Now, if I've lost you completely, that's perfectly normal. It is actually quite useless, but it does work. It is a possibility. Really, it's two different masks. I mean, you could just make two different masks, and there we are. There's nothing special about that. Difference is useful. Intersection is useful. Union is useful. For me, anyway. That's only a matter of opinion. Now, I've lost the masks there, so let's put them back. I'll just show you what they are. Just put A back and B back. Go here and put the second one on exclusion. And there we are. And we get a little butterfly shape. So there we are for the kind of the maths behind it, behind all this. Oh, sorry, just hit the microphone. Probably can't hear that. Now let's have a look. Let's go back to the mushrooms and see how we can get that to work. So this is the picture of the mushrooms and the three masks we had earlier. Now, to be honest, this ellipse now is not the one I'm going to keep, but just as an illustration, what I want to do is have this part of the picture and this diagonal part of the picture. I want them both to be in the mask. and I want to remove anything that is the mushrooms, and then I'll just get the kind of the dark green background behind. That's the aim. So let's remove the ellipse there, the mushroom. So it stayed here, you see. I've removed it from the module, but it's actually stayed in the created shapes. I think it's still in the tone equalizer. I'm just going to remove that one. And you see, when I've removed it from all the groups, this little dot here on the right has gone, which means it's not being used in any module at the moment. So that's useful. So you'll have here the list of all the drawn masks you have. The ones with dots are being used in a group, and the ones without any dots are not used at all. And there is, if you do a right click, clean unused shapes, it should get rid of it, but it doesn't always. For some reason it hasn't. I've used it once, I'm not using it again. I'll just do delete. There we are. So anyway, this is the first gradient, which I can adjust here. If I adjust it here, it is the same mask as here. So wherever you adjust it, there's no difference. So I'm not creating different masks. This diagonal gradient, if I click on it, I can see it, and I can adjust it too, and maybe adjust the opacity or the feathering just a little bit. Maybe make it a bit tighter. I zoomed it in a bit. And now, if I have a look at what I've got, I actually have a union. So I've got the union of both gradients, and I want to remove the mushrooms. So by removing the mushrooms is, if you remember, a difference. Now, the first way I'm going to go about this is in the details threshold, because the mushrooms are in focus. So I'm thinking that rather than kind of making a shape that goes around the mushrooms, let's just select the parts that are not sharp in the photo and try and remove as much as I can of these mushrooms. That's a little bit too much. Wasn't bad. I'll just click on this arrow here just to get rid of the lines, and that's not so bad. Now I'm going to make a path there, which I will use in a difference mode. So the path, which is the shape, if you remember rightly, in the previous video I said it's the one I use absolutely the most. We can do a little bit at a time actually. We don't have to do it all in one go. So that's the first shape. I've actually selected the mushrooms, but not the details, because these refinements are not individual for each mask. They are global on the total mask that's been calculated after all the operations, if that's clear. So I need to go here on the group exposure, right click on the path and use difference, and that will remove it from the selection. And now I can make another one. Now around here, I'll click inside there and I have a new path here, path number 2, click on difference, and that one's gone. And maybe a third one here. I dare say I could have done it all in one mask, but I couldn't see the point really. There. If I just put a little bit less detail here, and I like doing that, just going to the point where the mask starts breaking up, and then use the feathering to get it back again. And if I want to avoid a halo, I will maybe put a bit more contrast and a bit more opacity, sorry, and a bit less contrast. And if I can get a better mask out of that. That doesn't look too bad. So now I've actually selected, I've got this path that's showing. So this arrow on the right here, they all appear, they all disappear. And now if I kind of add a bit more exposure, we should have a nice mask there without any halos, nothing too bad. There, just show you the mask again. And we have before and after. So that's the kind of thing I'd do with the operations here, using unions, which is the global, the standard operation. So you can just keep on adding masks until you've covered too much, and then use difference to remove some parts that are too much. I'd like, actually, I don't often say this, but it would be nice if I could have a feathering radius or a details radius individually on each mask and not globally at the end. I'm not sure if it's possible. It's the kind of thing you say as a user, you say, oh, that must be easy. I mean, what are the developers thinking of? I mean, take 5 minutes. And I know perfectly well that 5 minutes turn into 5 hours and 5 days, and it's a lot of hassle for probably not much. So sorry about that, but it's just something I've thought about several times before. Let's have a look at a last example of operations on another photo. So this last example is a classical use of gradients. Usually I'd use it on skies, but it would work on anything. So I have this picture of the channel between England and France. Actually, took this last week. It was a very pretty sky. Could do quite a lot with this picture. I might do that a bit later. Anyway, I imagine I want to select a portion of the sky and enhance that in some way. Well, I'd use actually 2 gradients. So let's add a gradient on that. Now, the thing to do is get this right, is that the gradient that's pointing down, you want to put it quite low. And you want another gradient pointing up that you put high. Both of them horizontal. So individually, you'd get the, if it's the union, you've got the whole of this sky selected. I'll just remove that. I said remove that, right click on it, right click. Okay, it doesn't want me to. Let's delete the shape. So you have the first gradient, sorry, I should have shown you this before. This is the first gradient that selects all the sky. Really, you'd kind of want to come down to the water, level of the water, and now want to remove the top part. So this is what I was doing with the second gradient, which is facing up. And this one needs to be removed. Usually I'd do an intersection. So here with the second gradient, you put intersection, and now I can actually control the portion of the sky that I want to enhance. And by clicking in the mask manager on the left here on one mask and the other, I can adjust the sky. I can adjust each of the mask's feathering. Let's do a smaller feathering on this lower one. There we are. When you're pleased with that, then you can do anything you like with the sky. I could do a hue shift for him, I imagine. Did we see that? I think it's gone a slightly magenta. I overcook that. Yeah, hue shift just on a portion of the sky, and add in some global brilliance. You can do loads, anything you like, anything awful if you want to. Let's put in some yellow colour to it. Oh, see, awful. There we are, just to show you what you can actually do to a part of the image. That is a kind of a classical way of combining 2 gradients, making them opposite directions and doing the intersection. This is absolutely awful. I'm very sorry about that. Anyway, that is, I think, enough for today. I think you have everything you need to get on with the mask manager, and I think now we've covered everything on the drawn masks. The next one is parametric masks. Yes, it gets even better than this. Well, thanks for following, and I'll see you in the next one.